What's happening, folks? Hope you all are doing great. We're in November now, getting closer to the holiday season. Isn't that lovely? Anyhow, I want to touch on something today, I guess that relates to a lot of us, and that's trying to play World of Warships as a full-time adult or student in college or even high school, you know. Adulting ain't easy, especially if you have a full-time career, and I fall into that category, and I know a lot of you all do out there as well, because we've stated time and time again that World of Warships, the average age of the World of Warships player is 42. And that's pretty old, and not saying that 42 is old by any means, it's not. I mean, it's really not even middle age in this day and time, but as far as gaming is concerned, 42 is a little on the upper edge, and I know a lot of individuals that are in that age range, 42 or even 36 like myself. You know, we grew up on games, so we're just continuing our passion that we developed when we were a lot younger. But on to World of Warships and the effects of having a full-time career or being in college full-time, the effects of that on the game. And, you know, how to kind of balance that, how to be a better player when you're in that situation, where when you're a full-time employee, you have a career, you're gone from home most of the day, you know, how to balance those things to be a better player. We all know that World of Warships, it's a time-consuming game in many ways. I mean, you look at something like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Overwatch, or many other games out there, and you can just kind of jump in. You can play one quick round and you're done. World of Warships, though, I mean, you're looking at an investment of 20 minutes if you want to play one round. And yes, I know that some rounds finish a lot quicker. You can get sunk quicker, you know, within the first minutes of the game, jump out and get back in. But if you play a game to its fullest, you're looking at a minimum of 20 minutes. That's a lot of investment right there, especially when you look at World of Warplanes and World of Tanks, where a round's going to take 10 to 15 minutes, you know, and in most cases 10 minutes. So if you're a full-time adult, you know, adulting, doing adult things, you have children, you have kids, or like me, you know, you're gone 12 or 13 hours a day and have a spouse, a wife, husband, you know, that doesn't leave a lot of time in the evening to play. It just doesn't. And for me, you know, my wife comes first. So during the week, night times, I'm spending time with her. Thursday, I've parceled away a little bit of time to play with some of my Army compatriots, but that's it. That leaves me that leaves me weekends and late night on the weekends at that, after my wife goes to bed. So, you know, I'm gone from home. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning to get to work. I'm at work by 6. I work till 3:30, and I'm home by 5, depending on traffic. And that's my day. That's my life. And I know a lot of you are in that same situation. Some of you working shift work, or if you're in college, you know, you've got other things on your mind. Obviously, other guys or girls. You know, I gamed in college and I was in a fraternity, so it's not like you have a lot of time for that. So how do you balance that with life? How do you become a better player in World of Warships? And it's hard. It's very hard being a better player, being the player you want to be in World of Warships with such limited time. So I've come up with some things that I think you can do to be a better player, some things that I've done to be a better player, and not necessarily a better player. It's about getting more enjoyment out of World of Warships. So this isn't a guide to being a better player for a working adult or a full-time college student. This is how to get the most out of the game and how to enjoy it more. So first and foremost, accept your limitations. And that is the biggest thing right there. Accept your limitations. It takes thousands and thousands of rounds for consistency. Some players are going to be gifted at this game. Some are just going to take after it, and no matter what, no matter how many or few games they play, they're going to be great. And some aren't. You know, I'll just go off of my own situation. I have the tendency to put out the best rounds in the world, and I can follow them up with some of the worst rounds in the world. It's a matter of consistency, something that a full-time adult or student just doesn't have. It takes thousands of rounds for consistency. You have to accept that if you fall into that average category, or the category like me where you're a good player but you just lack some of that consistency sometimes based upon your situation, you have to accept that limitation and you have to live with it. If you don't, it's only going to make you miserable. It's going to make you not enjoy the game if you go out there and have that 1 blow-up round or that 2 blow-up round. So just accept the fact that you don't have the most time in the world and sail on knowing that if you did have the time to become a more consistent player, to get those thousands and thousands of rounds in, you probably would be that Unicum or Super Unicum player you want to be. So along with that, though, and accepting limitations, another thing to help yourself is ignore stats. Just ignore them completely. Because if you are constantly chasing stats and you don't have the time for that consistency, your stats are never going to be what you want them to be. If you don't have the time for it, they're just not. And all it's going to do is cause a lot of heartburn that you just don't need if you're a career individual. You just don't need that. So another thing that you can do to enjoy the game more is ignore the chat. And I say this for the players that I know that fall into that average or below average category, that are just looking for a stress release, that are just looking to have fun in this game. Ignore the chat because nothing good is going to come of the in-game chat. Players are going to call you a potato if you don't play up to their expectations, even though they might be potatoes themselves. And I hate using the word potato, but I've had friends called that. And these are individuals with full-time jobs, great careers. They earn a lot of money doing it. They're just playing warships to get away, to have fun, maybe with their friends. And I know some individuals that have almost given up this game due to the toxicity of the chat. They're ready to give up, just saying, hey, I don't need this. I've got enough stress in my life. I've got enough stress in my job. I don't need to come to this game and play it and be told that I'm a potato by some 12-year-old who just, yeah, exactly. So ignore the chat. Now, there are things that you can do to help your enjoyment and be a better player. And despite not having a lot of time to build that consistency, I think these things can help overall, and that's be a more wise player. And what do I mean by that? If you go out there, try and play anything and everything, yeah, that's one thing. But if you're strapped for time, I would focus on one class or one nation. Better one class. For example, destroyers. Focus on destroyers only. Play those ships only, and become a better player at that ship. Don't try and, be a battleship player and a cruiser player. Find one class that you truly enjoy and stick with it. Especially if you don't have a lot of time. That is where you want to spend your time, and something you absolutely enjoy. Also, give yourself a stopping point. Make it like Tier 7 or Tier 8. If you don't have a lot of time, avoid going to Tier 10. Especially if you're not playing with Premium. If you're playing this as strictly free-to-play, don't bother going to Tier 10. And another reason for that is the Tier 10 meta, it's just not that fun. You're going to have your most fun between Tier 5 and Tier 8. And granted, Tier 5 matchmaking absolutely hurts. I would set yourself a goal and maybe make it Tier 8 and go no higher than that. And once you get there, that's a personal win for yourself. Also, play with friends or coworkers for maximum enjoyment. Make time for it. I said that I play every Thursday now with some army buddies, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. One of the guys I play with, he's not the greatest player in the world, but, he enjoys playing with me and other individuals. And he's one of those individuals that almost quit due to the toxicity and just constantly, having to deal with other players just assaulting him for not playing up to the skill that they perceive he should be playing. Every player's different. So play with friends and have fun. Especially if you're strapped for time. If you go it alone, you're not going to have a good time in this game. You got to play with buddies. Now, there's other things you can do in-game to, help yourself be a better player and get more enjoyment out of it, especially if you're strapped for time. And that consistency again. And, then that's like, focus on the fundamentals. You probably know what you need to do. Things like angling properly, or sticking with your team, knowing when to use HE and knowing when to use AP. But I think the biggest thing that trips me up, I know that for sure, is impatience. And, you know, if we don't have a lot of time and feel like we're sitting down and we've got to get through the game quick because everything in our life is going haywire or just absolutely busy, you know, that doesn't help us, and that doesn't help with your in-game patience. But when you sit down and when you play, just remember to devote that 20 minutes to your game and try to, you know, unfocus everything else going on in your life. Try to unfocus your job, you know, the craziness around you. Just live in that moment of that one round you're playing in. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. Don't be impatient. Use your patience. And when you do that, you're going to find you're not rushing into situations that you shouldn't. You're not going to be doing those YOLO suicide runs that we all know wind up absolutely poorly. You know, if you take your time, you're going to stay in the round longer. And when you stay in the round longer, focusing on those fundamentals, focusing on angling and using HE at the right time and AP on the right time and spreading those fires and everything else, that's when you're going to get more enjoyment out of the game. That's where you're going to stay in the round longer, and that's when you're going to cause more damage. So, you know, there are things you can do even if you don't have a lot of time, and even if you can only put in, you know, 1 or 2 rounds a day or 1 or 2 rounds even on a weekend. So, you know, I think what I've covered right now pretty much covers how to get the most enjoyment out of this game. If you're like me, you're an adult, you're working constantly, and you just don't have the time because, you know, you're putting your job first, you're putting your family first, you're putting your career first, you're putting school first, you know. And I know, you know, 90 to 95% of those out there you're probably in that same situation. And, you know, I know all of us would love to be Super Unicum. I know all of us would, but, you know, there are players out there that you know, don't put a lot of time into the game. They're just gifted. And then there's some that have thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds. They know the game's inside out. They know the maps inside out. They know the best place to set up. But they've gained that through those thousands and thousands of rounds. And that's why they're Super Unicum. We will probably never get there, but that's okay as long as we have fun with the game. The moment this game stops being fun for you, you know, stop playing and move on to something else. Step away from the game and come back to it. Don't keep playing if you're not having fun. You know, you might just need a break. But that leads me to the last thing. Leave the game on a positive note. You know, even if you get sunk, you know, maybe you got time for one more round, get in, and even if you do get sunk, just stop, pause, and say, hey, look, I at least have a chance to get around in right now. I at least had a chance to get on and play, and, you know, I'm going to try and better myself. It might not happen now. It could happen down the line, or you might not care about how well you play, and that's great also. And I'm slowly getting to that point as well. I love making content for the game. I used to really care about my stats a lot, but as life has taken hold and other obligations, and especially the past couple months being out of town almost every single weekend, you know, I'm not getting that consistency, and I'm not playing up to the level I want, but I'm still having fun because I'm playing with other people I have fun with, and I'm still making content. And, you know, you can find the good in any situation. As I leave you, working adults, hardworking college students that just don't have the time, you know, just follow these few things. Try and get as much enjoyment out of the game as you can. I know you will. I know you will. But those are my tips for the full-time adult / school student. You know, just make the most out of the game that you can. Anyhow, guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Hope everything is going well in your careers and school and everything else that you're doing right now. Or if you're retired and you're out on the golf course, you know, that's great as well. Thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I am out.